Hey folks, this is Nick here, aka Pogo, as you might want to prefer to call me. I'm just going to be taking you through a quick rundown of how Bangarang, my remix of Hook, was pieced together in FL Studio. So, to get re-familiar with this track, re-familiarize ourselves, quote unquote, let's just take a quick listen to the first part of this track. So this percussion here in build-up 1, if we just go back to it, we've got the smear kicking on the floor to unroll the carpet for Captain Hook. I believe that is the snare drum I've used. I can't remember what it is exactly. I think it's like a baseball being caught or something. We then go to build-up 2, where we start bringing in the vocals and the chords. And then we got these chords as well. Very beautiful. It makes me so nostalgic listening to those. It makes me think of the mermaid scenes again, actually. Cool, cool, cool. And then we go to build up 3, which I think is just more chords built in there. And then we go off to, so I've basically set these out section by section. FL Studio kind of forces you to make music in a very blocky manner, and I'm not sure I'm particularly happy with that. It requires you to take the extra mile to produce an organic piece of music that kind of flows. You can see here we've got blocks, blocks, blocks. So then we move on to the sort of greater opening of the track here. So here we are. This is actually a lot of chords being played at once here. I'll just kind of slowly add them on. There's our kick drum again, obviously. Now, what I've done here is I've added a second kick drum because this sound here is just a little bit weak on its own, and once you start adding music over this, you really do need that extra kind of kick to punch it through, so to speak. Now, that's the baseball landing on Robin Williams' head. That's some kind of, I think that's Captain Hook's hook being pulled out of a piece of wood. Got 2 things for a snare drum here. These are all things that you probably won't realize listening to the track as a whole. And then obviously we've got this intro here, Robin Williams, just to kind of build up a bit of character.
Everyone would like to feel the total exhilaration of really flying. Feel this.
Let's move on. So this is actually the first section I ever made for this track, long before I ever knew it was going to become something complete. So I've got 2 bass lines here. I've got the 1 and the 2nd. I kind of throw them together because they both occupy different areas of the spectrum, and it just makes for a fuller sounding bass line. So there's our first chord, then we start mixing in other chords. Just listening to this kind of brings back all the memories I had of making this. It's actually kind of cool. I think that covers our chords. I believe I used a ride cymbal here somewhere. But anyway, those are the chords. Chuck them in with the bass, and it sounds kind of nice. In fact, listening to that again, there's actually a click on the beginning of one of these. So I'm just going to hold control and increase the attack on this ever so slightly to get rid of that click at the start. Okay, pattern 11 looks to be the next section in the track, which is actually just the same as the other stuff, really. And what we've got here is the syllables start coming in. You can see that I've labeled them appropriately. I'm actually just going to select a bit of this out so that we can loop it and go through the individual sounds. Minus that crash. So let's go into this pattern here. You can actually hear that that's not a very clean sample. I've had to do a lot of reduction of strings in the background, even despite recording that out of the center channel. You can see that I have actually adjusted the pitch slightly with some of these samples. It's very unlikely you'll get a sample that's dead on pitch. And then I've got Robin Williams kind of battling it out, losing his balls.
Yo!
And Dustin Hoffman there playing Captain Hook on the end.
Yo!
You can hear that I've divided the last syllable there to adjust the pitch slightly down, because if we listen to it in the original, it's just a little too high. So I've gone and separated that and lowered it.
Yo! Yo!
What's interesting actually is that for some reason my reverb here does not seem to be on when it should be. And listening to that, that is entirely too much reverb, so I'm going to take that decay down, bring the percentage down. You just want a bit of reverb. You don't want so much that you blast the accentuation, the pronunciation of things away.
Yo!
And then obviously we've got the I Like It, which everyone loves at the clubs.
I like it. I like it. I like it.
Which obviously I needed to stretch, compress just slightly to get that onto beat.
I like it. I like it.
Starting to fall off on the end there, but that's okay. It's not a big issue. And then we go off to the chorus. Over here we're coming to the kids section, kids 2. These are loops, and now what you'll find that's interesting about these is that you can actually still hear the piano playing in the background of the play that these kids are singing in the film. These are sounds that I really just couldn't get rid of at the time, and in all honesty I don't think it was really worth my effort to have done so, because if we listen to it against the music you just can't hear the piano at all. You can hear it, but it's not disruptive because the chords happen to be nicely in tune with the track that I'm composing here. I'm starting to add a separate ride cymbal here, which are called Bell. I like to just kind of move the track along with additional percussion. Now over here we start utilizing the voices of Maggie. And I'm going to be honest with you, these samples of Maggie's voice required a lot of processing. In fact, if you listen to them, you might even pick up that they're not entirely natural sounding. Particularly this one. That required a lot of tuning, and you'll also notice that we're actually playing that semitone down, plus an extra 30 or so cents. So it tends to sound a little deeper than usual. The original sample is actually... but we've had to lower that down. So we've got Maggie's voice there. See, what's interesting is that if I was to compose this again today, I would probably do this bass very differently. I'm not really sure I'm that happy with it. It sounds just a little bit mashed together. And it's not very pronounced. But we can hear that with that extra bass there, it's just a bit too much. Now, for some reason I've called this section New Dimension. I don't know why. I think it's just because I wanted to take the track in a new direction, which is the word I should have used. And so I've came together with these chords. obviously also laying in the percussion from the beginning of the track. And then I start dropping a bit of a house beat into that. And finally the end. Other things we've got in here is like Just Listen, which is something I never used.
Just listen.
I never used that. I think I used this.
Lightning has just struck my brain.
That's me. What's this? Yes, this is Captain James Hook laughing, which I never used either. For obvious reasons, it's just a little bit crazy. I actually used to have this at the end.
That was a
great game, as said during the end of the film by one of the children. I used to have this somewhere around here. That's not even it. Let's see, where the hell are we? Great game. This is the other thing I don't really like about this program, the fact that organization tends to become quite chaotic after a while. In fact, for some reason, I can't even access this clip anymore. Send pattern instances. I don't understand what that means. I want to access this, but I can't. Oh, okay, here we go. Alright, so I used to have... I used to actually have that here.
That was a great game.
I decided to take it out because there's just something about it that I don't like. It just sounds a little bit, I don't know, icky. It sounds a bit, you know, put on. I don't really care for it. Yeah, this is the section that I mix into my live shows. For some reason I've cut this one off short. I tend to just drag that out on the end there because it really sounds nice. I'm actually kind of sorry I didn't use it in the final track. But there we have it, folks. That's kind of a breakdown of all the sounds I've used here. I'm sorry for the limited real estate. Doing this in 720 high def, believe it or not, is still not really sufficient. But hopefully that gives you a good idea of how I put this together. You can see that FL Studio, while powerful and very flexible as a sequencer, when it comes to structuring, tends to be a little bit overly blocky and very kind of mechanical. I'm not entirely sure I'm really sold with this way of laying my tracks out. It's a little fidgety, it's a little finicky. It's very functional. There's a lot of great functions in here that I still have not really come to learn about. But my initial impression is that piecing your tracks together like this is a little blocky, and you just sometimes you want to go in and you want to change one of these sections, but then that of course means you have to clone that section, which means you end up with an entirely new row here dedicated to just that section, which I don't really care for. But you know what, this is FL Studio 10, perhaps there's a function somewhere that I need to learn about that allows me to get around that problem. Anyway, thanks for watching, folks. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll be bringing you more breakdowns in the future.